Combo fans, and welcome to the Dude Cave. I'm Jason, and these are my comic book reviews for the third week of October 2015. Yeah, we're still in 2015. This week we have 17 books to get through. There was a lot of very good books this week, but there was also some very disappointing books. So without further ado, let's get to those reviews. So first up this week we have the Indies, and we have 7 books from 3 companies this week to review. We have 3 books from Titan Comics, we have 3 books from Valiant Comics, and 1 book from Image. So we're kicking things off with Valiant, and we have Rye issue number 11. As always, this is written by Matt Kinch with art and colours and inks all done by Clayton Crane. And this series just continues to be excellent stuff. I'm really enjoying it. The story, we've got really 3 main threads that we're following. We've got Earth, where Rai has been exiled by Father from New Japan, and he, along with Lemur, this guy he's met, who's really kind and nice, is helping him try and find this guy, this mythical Warrior Eternal. And this issue we get to see the Warrior Eternal, and yes, it is Gilad. It is the Eternal Warrior that we all know so well from books like Unity, and the Valiant. So yeah, I was super chuffed that we actually got to see that, so that was really cool this week. I'm also loving Rai's inner monologues, because it's really making you understand the character a lot more and all what the things he's going through, because he hasn't got Father giving him these super abilities anymore. So things like hunger, things like rest, he's finding he needs that he didn't need before. So and I think the inner monologues are so well written, they're really bringing that across and making him a much richer character. Meanwhile, on New Japan, we have Isaac and Momo. That more of Isaac's kind are there on a part of New Japan called Rome Mania, and so they've gone there to kind of find them. And then we've got Lola has rescued Spylock, and now together with Karana and Grace, they're teaming up, and they're going to take the fight to Father still, and they've got a plan. And I'm liking the relationship between Spylock and Lula. He sees a lot in her already. She's really impressed him by not just rescuing him, but also having this big plan of how to take on Father. So I'm really liking what's going on there, and that kind of relationship, and I'm interested to see, because it's kind of almost like he's seeing a lot in her, and he could almost become a mentor, because he's seeing a lot of good qualities in her that could be useful as a spy, or so it'd be interesting to see where that part of the story goes. As always, the art is fantastic. This is just a really great series, and I give Rai issue number 11 5 stars out of 5. So next up from Titan Comics, we have Doctor Who. This is the 12th Doctor, issue number 13, and this issue continues the I'm trying to remember what it was called. They always have the title at the back, which can be a bit of a pain at times. The Hyperion Empire. It's part 2 of 4. Last issue, it really had a real horror vibe to it. It reminded me a lot of 28 Days Later, as kind of Clara and the Doctor, and also from Doctor Who, it would be the 3rd Doctor story, the Dinosaur Invasion, when the Doctor and Sarah Jane arrive in London and it's been evacuated. And in here, the Doctor and Clara arrive in London and it's deserted, and they get these ash kind of zombies made up as ashes kind of attack them, and they meet this fireman called Sam, and they learn that these aliens, the Hyperions, have kind of invaded Earth. Very much kind of because the story kind of starts out as this kind of horror movie vibe, and they've got these ash zombies, and then it kind of turns into an alien invasion. So it kind of goes from being the dinosaur invasion to being Dalek invasion Earth. Kind of like as the story's going on, and we learn that the Hyperions are behind what the Scorched, which are what they call these zombies that are made up out of ashes of the dead. And that, just like in the Dalek invasion, where the Daleks enslaved humanity to kind of dig to the centre of the Earth, in this, the Hyperions are doing something with the humans. So Sam takes the Doctor and Clara to what's left of humanity, and the Doctor makes a plan, and he's going to find out what's going on. We get really a cool origin story of the Hyperions, and it was familiar, so I'm sure earlier in this series we've seen the Hyperions. I'm sure there was a race the Doctor defeated. I'm sure there was a world that was overheating, and it was the Hyperions, and they said they would come back and get the Doctor. And I think, you know, this is the Doctor encountering them again, and I really like that they've created these comic book characters that the Doctor's going to keep facing. And I like the origin story because it really adds a mythos to the Hyperions and makes the characters seem more important. I'm not completely sold on the art. I think that would be my only complaint to the book. I didn't think the characters were consistent from panel to panel. So I didn't really feel the art, but the story, there's just so much good stuff here, really good stuff. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm going to give Doctor Who 12th Doctor issue number 13 4 stars out of 5. So getting back to Valiant now with Ivar Timewalker issue number 10. This book was a hoot. We've got kind of times breaking down, so we've got these kind of alternate realities that are the only realities that are left. It's kind of like similar to like what's been happening in Marvel, the Marvel universe, and we get this universe where we have like the Roman Empire, but it's dinosaurs. So like instead of like Roman soldiers, you've got it's kind of just like they've got gladiators and an emperor, but they're dinosaurs, and it's just so cool. And they kind of put mammals in this like gladiator pit to fight for their lives, and it's brilliant. So Ivar becomes a total badass as he's having him and this other creature, they're having to defend themselves against like all manner of things that are sent into the pit to fight them. Well, meanwhile we have our other character whose name just has escaped me, Neela Seti. We have Neela, kind of, she's trying to find, she's been mistaken for her evil self, because her evil self is doing something with these dinosaurs. And so Neela is trying to figure out what's going on and try and stop it, and also get back to Ivar, and things go a bit pear-shaped. A really fun book. The whole dinosaurs and Rome thing was just fantastic. I loved it. It was a hoot. The thing that really hurts this book though is the science. Sometimes I find a bit difficult to grasp, and I don't know if it's because I'm not quite clever enough, or if it's not explained well enough. It's just I find concepts in here I really have to reread it and have to really concentrate sometimes to get some of the stuff. And I think one of the problems is in Doctor Who, it's the role of the companion. It's that the Doctor explains things to the companion, and that's their role. It's so we can understand what's going on, because the Doctor will explain it in terms we understand to the companion, because she's our viewpoint into this. And in this, we've got not got that, because Neela is a doctor, so she's super intelligent. Ivar's super intelligent, so there's nobody kind of there that they're having to explain things to. And I think that would probably be a help, because that is the only thing that's hurting this book. There's some fantastic ideas. The story has been a lot of fun and has been really great, but it's just sometimes I find it difficult to grasp some of the science that's key to the story. So I'm going to give Ivar Timewalker issue number 10 4 stars out of 5. Getting back to Doctor Who and Titan Comics now, we have this is the 10th Doctor, Year 2, issue number 2, and I've got to say this was a bit disappointing. I was really looking forward. I've been really looking forward to this, but I just couldn't get into this story. We have I can't even explain what the story was, because it wasn't working for me. Then there's the story itself is hurt because there's no transition. The story would just the Doctor kind of finds that there's some bad thing behind all this, and he thinks there's something bigger because this thing shouldn't be acting like this. And then we kind of jump to the Doctor kind of having found the answer and arriving back where Gabby, the companion, is, and saving the day. But we don't learn what was behind all of this. So it was the transition was really awkward. I do like Gabby as a companion, and she's been brilliant, and she's a great character in this. And they get the Doctor spot on as well. I felt they did the 10th Doctor well. But just the story, these aliens that kind of are like ghosts, but they're like musical ghosts. And they've been corrupted by these other ghosts, and I just wasn't grasping this story, and it didn't help then that the transition of the story was really awkward. I did love the end of this book though, as we get I need to read this to get the full name. We have Anubis, Last of the Assyrians, turns up kind of from the last volume of this and reminds the Doctor of his promise. So I like that we've got that reoccurring theme, and I'm gonna think that Anubis is gonna come back later in this series, so we're dealing with that still, and that does give the book at least a bit of a direction. So yeah, a disappointing issue for me. I did, like I said, there was good in here, but just the main story I didn't think was much good at all. So I'm going to give Doctor Who 10th Doctor, Year 2, Issue 2, 3 stars out of 5. So next up we have Tokyo Ghost from Image Comics, written by Rick Remender with art by Sean Murphy and colours by Matt Hollingsworth. And I've got to say first, the art in this was phenomenal. I was nearly going to spare, but I pulled myself back at the last minute. It was phenomenal. I absolutely loved Murphy's art here. Murphy is somebody whose work I've enjoyed. I enjoyed his stuff on Chrononauts, but I haven't seen a whole lot of Sean Murphy's artwork, so I'm not somebody who's a big fan of his art, just because I haven't seen enough of it to be a fan of it. I liked Chrononauts, but you know, but the art in this, there's this great page where Dent is chasing this Japanese person, and like they're running through the forest, and then it kind of just opens up into this gorgeous double page spread, which is just phenomenal. Just absolutely gorgeous stuff going on here. So yeah, first off, love the art. The story itself I found was really great. We get the origin story of Debbie and Led Dent, and the origin story was just so awesome, and the way it was illustrated, the way it was written, it just made me like really, you know, empathize with these characters, and I just absolutely loved how it was laid out. There's also a nice bit of art in the scene where she's kind of waking him up from his like tech kind of coma, where he's just addicted to these programs. So yeah, so the art again is really good, but I just loved like getting this backstory to the two characters. We get to learn a bit more about this world. We meet Mr. Flack, I think his name was, yeah, Flack, who seems to just walk around naked, which yeah, okay, cool. It was a bit of a shock when you first see him get out of his swimming pool, and then you kind of expect him to, I got this robe, and you expected him to do the robe up, because like, you know, you got visitors here, but like, no, he just stays with this robe open, and it's like, okay. So that was a surprise, and his character seems interesting, and certainly the way he kind of, they set him up in this issue seems like he could be the villain of the piece. We get to learn a bit more through his conversation with Debbie and Led, a bit more about this world and about the history of this world. And yeah, I just really liked this issue. This issue very close to being my pick of the week. It was really good stuff. Really enjoyed it, and I'm going to give Tokyo Ghost issue number 2. I'm going to give 5 stars out of 5. So our final book this week for the Indies is Doctor Who, the 9th Doctor, issue number 4. This was the best Doctor Who book that I got this week. This was really good. The thing that hurt this initially going into it was it's a mini-series, and I think issue 3 must have come out like August. I'm sure it's September at the latest. But it's been a while since we've had an issue of this mini-series. So it's kind of like remembering, like, well, where was we? And I think they did a good job in here with the previously kind of thing, as well as the dialogue within to kind of catch you up. I still couldn't remember like the details of exactly what these aliens had done to what the Time Lords had done to these aliens during the Time War. But I found the broad strokes you got, and it didn't hurt the story too much. It caught you up, so that was good. I think the 9th Doctor is totally spot on. I think he's really well written here. You could hear Christopher Eccleston speaking these words because it was just so well written in that way. I like the two aliens, the Yuan, who are these guys who are trying to replace the Time Lords in protecting time and repairing time. And kind of their argument, they go from kind of like the Doctor being very anti like working with them, and you can tell by the end of the issue the Doctor's kind of coming around to maybe these guys aren't as bad as they first seemed. We meet the Lect, who we've only really got the story so far from the Yuan side, so the Lect we don't know much about, but Rose is stuck with them, and we get a doozy of a cliffhanger, which I really enjoyed. I'm a bit sad we've only got one issue left on this, because like I really enjoyed this issue. This was by far the best Doctor Who book this week I read, and there was plenty of them to read. The art is lovely throughout as well, so that was another real bonus. So yeah, all in all, like I say, I enjoyed this, and I'm going to give it 5 stars out of 5. So those are the indie books this week. Next up, we're going to go to review the books from DC Comics. So next up, DC, and we have just 4 books from DC this week. We start out with the excellent Batman and Robin Eternal, issue number 3. I really enjoyed this. This was great stuff. Cassandra Cain, I'm really liking her character. Her showdown with Red Hood was fantastic, and I'm really loving the way they find her to communicate without using words. I think that's really cool, and she's fast becoming a favourite character of mine. I'm also enjoying finding out more about Mother. Dick uses Spiral this week to find out a bit more, and like there's this whole thing that she used to make like designer babies, and like they're kind of like, somebody says like, who would want to make children warriors, and they kind of all look up to each other and think, oh no, Bruce did, tell us, please tell us Bruce didn't do this. That like kind of the whole thing about us as being, you know, Robins, would that have happened anyway? Did we have to go through all this tragedy, or would that have just happened anyway? So I'm really liking that wrinkle and where that's going to go. I'm kind of wondering with the whole Batman thing, because we've not seen the Bat Gordon in this book. I'm kind of wondering, because I thought Bruce would become Batman again in the main book, but I'm just thinking, just maybe, what if that one of the things they were going to do with this book is they were going to maneuver Bruce Wayne back to being Batman. Maybe somebody in this book who wants him to remember so he can pay for his sins, they're responsible for it. So that's going to be interesting, because I did think initially maybe issue 50 of Batman was going to be the book where they maybe put Bruce Wayne back in Batman, because you know at some point they're going to do it. But maybe, just maybe, it's going to be in this book. Time will tell. I'm really liking seeing the flashbacks to Dick Grayson when he was Robin, because like I said, I think I said for the review for last issue, I've not seen anything of Dick Grayson as Robin, so it's really cool going back, seeing that, and also seeing their relationship and their interactions. That's really cool. I like the end of this where we end with Bruce in peril. That's really good. But all in all, I'm just really enjoying this. And going in, I kind of didn't want to get caught in a weekly again, but now that I'm here, I'm glad I have, because I'm really enjoying this book right now. And I give Batman and Robin Eternal, issue number 3, 5 stars out of 5. So next up we have Black Canary, issue number 5. The art once again for this book is amazing, but otherwise it doesn't feel like much happened. We have an awkward kind of showdown with White Canary and Black Canary, or I'm guessing it's White Canary. They kind of figure out maybe the record company could be behind what's going on. Maeve kind of maneuvers them into a battle of the bands. There's a lot of melodrama going on with Maeve. But other than that, nothing really happens. We don't really learn much more about Ditto. Nothing else in the story really feels like it moves any further forward, and there doesn't feel to be any really kind of momentum in all in this book. It's all stuck in drama, and I think, like the old saying goes, save the drama for your mama, because I didn't enjoy this as much. And it wasn't that it was a bad issue, it was just that when I put it down, I kind of felt like nothing had happened. And kind of why had I wasted those minutes reading the book when I could have just read a synopsis to say nothing much happens. But yeah, so this was the worst issue yet, and it's sad because I really love the series. So I hope it's going to be a return to form next issue, but sadly I have to give this issue a heartbreaking 2 stars out of 5. So next up we have Superman Wonder Woman, issue number 22, and this was another mess. Peter Tomasi is a writer I really respect and I really like, and I was just so surprised because this issue just doesn't work. The story is confusing. I don't understand what's going on. I understand at the beginning Superman wants to get his powers back, so he was trying to ride to the sun, But when that doesn't work out, I kind of don't get what's going on from there. Nothing's ever really explained to where these characters are going and what they're doing. Superman isn't acting very Superman-like. Wonder Woman is not being very Wonder Woman-like. It's just, yeah, it's a bit of a mess. And there is some good in here. The art by Doug Mackey is really good. And there's a great confrontation between Lois and Lana Lang that I really liked as well. But just the whole main of the issue was a mess. I'm going to give Superman Wonder Woman issue number 22 2 stars out of 5. So our final book from DC this week, it is Justice League issue number 45. This is part 5 of the Darkseid War. The book still feels epic and it's a massive event. There will be spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, you might want to click to the next set of reviews on my video, because I am going to spoil the hell out of this because there's just so much going on. Initially, the art, I was disappointed because there was no Jason Fabok. Now, I love Francis Manapul's art, but I've loved Fabok in this book. So I was disappointed he wasn't here. But as soon as I opened it up and we really get into the art, and just he's teamed up as always with Brian Buccellato on art, on colours. So together they just put together a really gorgeous looking book. Art wise, this was right up there with Tokyo Ghost as one of the books art wise of the week. The main thing crux of this is that last issue we had Darkseid was killed by the Anti-Monitor. So Darkseid is supposedly dead, but I think he was dead before and he come back, so hey. So the Anti-Monitor has disappeared and the various members of the Justice League have been affected. Now, during the battle with Darkseid, he merged the Anti-Monitor merged the Flash with the Black Racer, and now that he is born as one, he is a god, and the Flash is now the god of death. So then we kind of jump to Apocalypse, where Superman is kind of having this, has been corrupted by the fires of Apocalypse, and is having the fight of his life with Lex Luthor, really not been Superman. So Superman is now the god of strength. And then we have Batman, who's sat in the Morbius chair, so he has all of the knowledge, so he's now Batman, god of knowledge, and he kind of foresees that the parademons, without Darkseid to guide them, have kind of gone out into the universe by themselves, and they're going after the lanterns because the lanterns are the brightest light and they're attracting the parademons. So we have that little kind of crux. We then have Shazam, who seems to get infected, and he becomes the god of gods. So Shazam gets infected as well. And then finally, on the last page, we have Lex Luthor is reborn as the god of Apocalypse. So, you know, and this all builds into like 6 one-shots they're going to do during the month of November, I think it is. Well, I think the first one starts this week and then it's going to go throughout November. So you've got like there, you've got the one-shots, you've got Batman, The Flash, Green Lantern, Superman, Shazam, and Lex Luthor. And then next month we're going to have the return of Morbius. So it was a really good issue. It still feels epic. I was slightly disappointed when we got to the end and it felt like this had just been an advert to set up the 6 one-shots. So I was a bit disappointed with that, but otherwise I really enjoyed this book. The art is absolutely fantastic. It's worth buying the book just for the art because it's so great, and it does feel like an epic event, and I'm really enjoying it still. But that's just the whole adverty kind of feel to the book. Did leave a sour taste. I'm going to give Justice League issue 45 4 stars out of 5. So next up, we're going to review the books from Marvel Comics. So here we have 6 Marvel books to review. And speaking about books with grey art, next up we have Weirdworld issue 5. This is the final issue of the Secret Wars kind of portion of this story. And again, the art in this book is just phenomenal. There's just this great battle scene here that is just gorgeous. I'm, you know, even if the story was pants, this book just for the art alone would be worth getting. But thankfully, it's not pants. This story is pretty epic as well. So yeah, it concludes everything, and I like how we kind of pull things together from previous issues, and everything kind of gets meshed together, and we get this really great conclusion of this great battle as kind of the forces of Weirdworld kind of join up and to try to strike out at Morgan Le Fay. So that's all really cool, and it feels like it all comes together. It's a very satisfying conclusion that also kind of sets up that this is going to be an ongoing book. Apparently, come December, we will be going to Weirdworld every month as an ongoing. I don't think Jason Aaron's writing that. I got a feeling it was Sam Humphries who's writing it. I think Mike Demundo is still on art, but I think it's a different writer. But so it sets the story up nicely, but also makes you feel like you get enough of an end that it's satisfying. So I really enjoyed this. I thought it was really great. I really got to like Archon, our main character. The art's phenomenal. This was just a real joy, and I think it was the most satisfying conclusion to a Secret Wars event story that I've read so far, and I'm going to give this book 5 stars out of 5. So, speaking of Secret Wars events finishing, we have Age of Apocalypse, issue number 5. This also concludes the whole Age of Apocalypse story. It's a surprising end. It's not how I expected it to go, but it also kind of works. It works as... so I enjoyed it. I liked it. It felt like closure. It felt like everything came full circle and got nicely done. So yeah, I liked that. We get to learn the Burner's identity, which I thought was really cool. I liked that. And yeah, it binds everything together nicely that we've been reading. And yeah, this was another really satisfying conclusion. And that's really all I've got to say. So I'm going to give Age of Apocalypse, issue number 5, 5 stars out of 5. So moving next up to A Galaxy Far Far Away, we have Darth Vader, issue number 11. And this I'm really enjoying Expector Tanoff. We know now that he knows about Vader, and he's playing a really interesting game here as he's trying to trap Vader, and Vader keeps kind of managing to fox his way out, but Tanoff is always kind of one step ahead. So I'm really interested to see how this is going to end up. This is going to be some really good stuff going on here. I'm really enjoying this book. This issue was really good, as you can kind of see Vader kind of trying to make things look good, not knowing that Tanoff knows. So that was good. I enjoyed meeting this new character called the Auntie, and Apra trying to make a deal with him, so that was really cool. And all in all, yeah, this was just a lot of fun. So I'm going to give Darth Vader issue number 11, 5 stars out of 5. So next up, we have Star Wars Scattered Empire, issue number 4. This is the final issue of this series. This is one of those books that I think once the film comes out, it's going to make a lot more sense to us. Once we kind of see the film, and kind of the things that happen in here that I think are going to have more meaning, you know, because like basically Luke and our main character here, Shana, they go to get these trees. These trees are rich in the Force, and they go to get them from this Imperial base, and they have to kind of fight their way through. And Luke at the end, he takes one and he gives one to this character. Now her son, I think it's her son, who's this pilot in the new movies, and you kind of wonder, well, did he kind of get the Force from this? So I'm wondering if that's going to play a part in the bigger story when we come to the film. If that's going to mean more, that tree, and we've got the origin of how they got the tree here. I don't know, because at the moment, other than that, I kind of don't really understand the point of this. While it was fun seeing these characters again, it doesn't really answer that many questions, and leaves more questions than answers. So I've got to think that that tree that they get in this issue is going to play a bigger role in the future when we come to see the film. That's the only thing I can think right now. It was cool to see Luke as a Jedi, kind of. We saw him in Jabba's palace, but the rest of that film was kind of dealing with family stuff, so we didn't get to see him be the confident, self-assured Jedi that we saw in the first half of the film. So it was good getting to see more of that here, and as him and Shara take on a whole base of stormtroopers. So that was really cool. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I did enjoy this, and I think I've enjoyed the latter half of this more than the first half. but it's still a book I think is going to make more sense down the road. So I'm going to give Star Wars Scattered Empire issue number 4 4 stars out of 5. So now we have two new books. We have first up Astonishing Ant-Man issue number 1. This was a lot of fun. If you enjoyed the movie but you've never read Ant-Man, this is definitely a nice book to jump onto. It fills you in with everything that happened last time. We're introduced to all the characters, and kind of it sets it up. The characters do have the feel of the movie, so it's a great place to jump on here. And I feel they do a good job of explaining everything, and this is a good number 1 issue in that regard. There's a real heartbreaking scene with Ant-Man kind of with his daughter in the car. Anyone who's read it will know what I mean, but that was a heartbreaking moment. But it made the character as well more relatable. It's a fun book though. In the main, there's a lot of laughs in here, also a lot of action. I really like all the characters, and the last page, oh my god, that was a surprise. So all in all, this was really good, and I'm going to give Ant-Man number 1, or Astonishing Ant-Man number 1 rather, 5 stars out of 5. So our final book this week is Invincible Iron Man issue number 2, and this was really good. I went into this book not 100% sure, but they won me over. I really enjoyed this. I'm really enjoying the tone of the book. I'm really enjoying how Bendis is writing Tony, and he feels very much like the Tony Stark we know in the movies. This is another great book to jump onto. I love the new armor. I think that's a really great idea and a great design. We have Victor Von Doom here, who's kind of turning over a good leaf. It's kind of a bit like Lex Luthor in the DC universe, and that's what I kind of got the vibe of. But because he's been so wicked in the past, they don't believe him. But I really love the interactions here between Victor Von Doom and Iron Man, and I'm hoping to see him more often in the book, because I think that's an interesting kind of road to go down. So that was really cool. All in all, yeah, this was a really fun book that I really enjoyed. You could argue, I suppose, that not much happens, but then I'd counter-argue that, because we end up in a confrontation with Madame Mask. We get to learn a lot more about what's going on with Doom, and that pushes what's going on with Madame Mask, and we find out what she's doing. So I think a lot of story does go on, but I enjoyed this overall though. I really enjoyed this though, and the art as well. But David Marquez again, he's just stunning art, and I just like when people say David Marquez. I like what I'm seeing here, and what my mind tells me he is as an artist doesn't correlate, because his art has just been tremendous on these 2 issues, and I think this is going to make him into a big name artist, because his art on these first 2 issues has been that good. So I'm going to give Invincible Iron Man issue number 2 5 stars out of 5. So those are all the Marvel books this week. Only one book left to review, and that's my pick of the week. So my pick of the week this week is Book of Death, The Fall of Manowar issue number 1. This is a one-shot. They're doing this for all the books to death. We've had one a month, and this month it's the turn of Manowar, and we get to see his death and how he'll ultimately end up in the Valiant universe. And this was excellent. This is by far the best book, Fall of book we've had. It's brilliant, and I don't know if part of that's kind of coloured by the fact that Manowar is one of my favourite Valiant characters, and I don't know if some of that's coloured by that, and that's why I enjoyed this so much, because I'm so invested in this character. But this was a really good book. I just absolutely loved everything about it. The story was enchanting. Basically, we have Manowar dying, and they've got this big museum to him, and Commander Trill is going to attack the museum, because that's where Manowar is buried with his uncle, and he's going to get, because he thinks the armor is buried there, but the armor has been but Sahara has been released. Manowar, before he died, released Sahara, and Manowar has become the armor, and now he's the armor around his daughter. And I just absolutely love that as an idea and as a concept. And so she battles Commander Krill, or tries to get him to see things her way. I absolutely loved it. Like the whole death and the scene between the father and the daughter was beautiful. Yeah, this was just brilliant. I just absolutely loved it. And I think I could understand an argument by some that maybe there's not that much here. But I think probably because I'm so invested in this character, it doesn't matter. What here really resonates, what here really works. and it kind of jumps around time a little bit. Kind of we're after his death, then we jump to before his death, and we kind of jump in between the two parallels, as we're showing Commander Trill attack this museum, and we've got this father and son who are visiting the museum, who are giving us the history lesson and what this museum is. And then we kind of jump to the scenes of Arik dying, and kind of been there with his wife, and kind of letting Sahara go, and then the emotional scene with his daughter. I just really enjoyed this. I just thought it flowed beautifully. Like I said, the story was enchanting, and yeah, I just loved everything about this book. Found it very satisfying, and I'm at my book of the week, Book of Death, The Fall, Exo Manowar, issue number 1. So we have reached the end of the video, which means it's time to find out who the company of the week is. What company of the week is each week I take, for example, the Marvel books. I add all the score the books have got together. I divide by the number of Marvel books I've reviewed, and that gives me an average score. I do the same for DC and the Indies, and then who has the highest average score gets the company of the week. So this week we have in third place, with probably the lowest score I've had since I've started doing this. It's DC Comics with a rating of 3.2. 3.2. Wow. But they did have 2 books this week that got 2 stars, so that's why they got so low. Then in second place we have the Indies, which were represented this week by Valiant, Image, and Titan Comics, and they have an average rating of 4.4. But in top spot this week it is Marvel Comics with an average rating of 4.8. So Marvel Comics are the company of the week for the third week of October 2015. So that's that. In the post I had 2 more Marvel Ultimate Graphic Novels arrive. I had issue 100, which is Iron Fist, The Search for Colin Wing. And I had X-Men, The Shadow of Sauron, as issue 101. So I've got a lot to catch up with them. Hopefully at some point I will be able to do that. So those are my reviews. I felt there's nothing really else I got to say. Hope you all have a great week. I will be back on Wednesday with a haul video as I pick up more books. I think this week I've got 16 books to get, so we will see that on Wednesday. And then probably Sunday, Monday, I'll be back with another review video. So I hope you all have a great week. Thank you very much for watching my video. If you enjoyed, please give me those beautiful thumbs up. Let me know you enjoy my video. I will see you all again soon. I've been Jason. This has been my comic reviews from the Dude Cave. I'm going to say bye for now.